Hello everyone. Today's study is going to be about Adam and Eve and the fall of man. So let's go to Genesis chapter 3 and verse 1. And it says, "Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field, which the Lord God had made. And he said unto the woman, Yea, hath God said, Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said unto the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God hath said, Ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die." And right here, she made a mistake. Well, for starters, she made a mistake by walking away from Adam, where they were instructed to stay together. But then here, she says, neither shall ye touch it. If you go back, when God is walking them through the garden, he said, eat thereof. He did not mention touching it. Right there gave Satan a step towards his victory. In verse 4 it says, "And the serpent said unto the woman, Ye shall not surely die. For God doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eye, and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit, and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat." So through all of this, there were steps. First, she wandered away from her husband. She could have gone back. Second, she started wondering about this tree and wandering that way. Could have gone back at this point. Then the serpent speaks to her, which caught her on alarm because she knew that God had not given speech to the serpent. But yet she didn't go back. She ventured forward. So then, step by step, getting closer, discoursing with the serpent, touching the fruit, eating the fruit, giving the fruit to Adam. And thus was the fall of man. And the eyes of them both, in verse 7, were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together, and made themselves aprons. And they heard the voice of the Lord walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of the Lord God amongst the trees of the garden. And the Lord God called unto Adam, and said unto him, Where art thou? And he said, I heard thy voice in the garden, and was afraid, because I was naked, and I hid myself. And he said, Who told thee that thou wast naked? Hast thou eaten of the tree whereof I commanded thee that thou shouldest not eat? Now the reason that God put this tree in the garden is so they didn't have to follow God, because that's what they had to do. They were given freedom of choice. But yet they chose to go the wrong route, which then, in turn, puts us where we are today, with death, destruction, sorrow. Verse 12, "And the man said, The woman," now he's blaming her, "the woman whom thou gavest to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I did eat." It's her fault. And the Lord God said unto the woman, What is this that thou hast done? And the woman said, The serpent beguiled me, and I did eat. No one is taking the blame here. Here is the first time you see in the Bible, or in the history of man, blaming someone else for something you did. Adam says, it's her fault. She says, it's the serpent's fault, which in turn is, God, it's your fault because you made the serpent. And besides, you put the tree in the garden too, so it's your fault. And the Lord God, in verse 14, said, And the Lord God said unto the serpent, Because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly shalt thou go, dust thou shalt eat all the days of thy life. Because before that curse, we are told that snakes had wings. Verse 15, And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. It's a prophecy of Christ. Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow, and thy conception in sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. And unto Adam he said, Because thou hast hearkened unto the voice of thy wife, and hast eaten of the tree which I commanded thee, saying, Thou shalt not eat of it, cursed is the ground for thy sake. In sorrow thou shalt eat of it all the days of thy life. Have you ever tried to plant a garden and it doesn't grow? This is the first curse that was placed upon the ground. And we will see in our next part series the second curse. Verse 18, Thorns also and thistles shall it bring forth to thee, and thou shalt eat the herb of the field. In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread, till thou return unto the ground, for out of it wast thou taken, for dust thou art, and unto dust thou shalt return. Death is taking place, not immediately, but slowly. That from the day you're born, you have a clock, a countdown, to the day you die. And Adam called his wife's name Eve, because she was the mother of all living. Unto Adam also, and unto his wife, did the Lord God make coats of skin, and clothed them. So obviously, coats of skin, that means an animal just died for that. Taught them the sacrificial system, looking forward to the coming of Christ. So through all of that, we need to keep in mind that when you are tempted, there are steps that lead up to that. And if you don't turn away in that process, you will be taken down by the serpent. I want to read you a portion of a Spirit of Prophecy quote. It says, Men choose to stand with the first rebellion who tempted Adam and Eve in Eden to disobey God. The terrors multiply themselves, for they sow terrors, and they have their part with the root of all sin, the devil, the old serpent. Testimonies to Ministers, the last part of paragraph 1 on 235. So I want you to keep in mind with this that Christ is there for you, and he is watching over you. And all you have to do is cry out to him on that first, second, or third step forwards towards sin. Back out of it. Run away as soon as you can, that you do not get sucked into it. I hope this video has been a help to you. Please like, share, and subscribe, and walk with God.